Are you talking, Caleb?
All right. We are live. Feels good to be back on another episode of the Inner Circle podcast. It's been one hell of a week. Been one hell of a week. Lot of crazy stories and happenings happening within the industry, especially for Xbox. A lot of stuff happening between Epic and Apple. Even PlayStation has beginning some crazy rumors and news. The Avengers game demo had dropped as well. A lot of people are up and down on that game. Um, I don't know, man. It's just been a very busy August. Probably out of all the months, it's probably been the busiest if I can really think about it
Yeah,
from an industry perspective. You know what
yeah.
I'm saying?
And it's a lot of it's bad news too.
Yeah, it's been pretty crazy. I don't want to spend too much time talking about nothing. So
Okay.
we're gonna jump right into the show. I guess
Yeah,
whenever
we got
post
an
pops in,
article.
whenever post pops in, he'll pop in. I think he's coming from the multiplayer podcast, or with Zaire and all of them. So he'll be popping over shortly. But in the meantime, we got a lot to talk about tonight. Obviously, the Halo delay is a big deal. A lot of people talking about bad, whether that's good or bad. We'll definitely break that down. Series X launch. I have some opinions on how they can combat this Halo situation.
hmm
Epic and Apple, which is insane with Fortnite.
Epic and Apple and now Google also.
Yeah,
Uh,
Google as well. They've entered that ring.
yeah,
You can say Microsoft and Apple too with Game Pass if you want to throw
yeah.
that in there. And is Xbox boxed in? I have this kind of, now I don't want to say theory, but I have this issue that I
What do
feel
you mean?
Microsoft has put themselves in that may hurt them in the future. We're all going to discuss that on tonight's show. So let's get
Mhm.
the show started. Here we go. Welcome to the Inner Circle Podcast, the premier podcast for Xbox. I'm your host, OX3 Kellel, with my boy Karaba
Stop.
and my man Cam Hambone.
What's going on, everybody?
A shout out to Post Up whenever he pops in, and we are the Inner Circle Podcast. So, obviously, major news coming out of 343. Halo has been delayed. Now, there's been a lot of crazy news and rumors coming out of 343. First, we had I guess you could say debacle, if you want to call it that, with the sort of game showing of Halo at the game showcase. A lot of people didn't feel the game graphically was impressive enough for a next gen type title, even though the game was cross gen. I do agree that Halo 4 and Halo 5, from a graphical standpoint, does look better. I also have to consider that Halo 4 and 5 are both linear titles, and Halo Infinite is a open world game at 4K 60 frames per second, so that does play a role. But again, when you're touting power, when you're using that as your narrative, you have to be able to have games that sort of push that narrative. Now, we don't know what this game can do from a CPU perspective, meaning we don't know how many enemies can be on screen. We don't know if you're going to have large open field battles when you're playing in combat. We don't know what you can do in the game. We don't know how, what the particle effects are like. We don't know what the final code would be like. But at least from a GPU perspective, from a graphical perspective, the game is, looks like a current gen title. And a lot of people are impressed with that when you're touting a next gen console or a next gen release. So it's something that Microsoft definitely have to work on. Then you have the rumors that they were going to basically launch the game in parts, with, I think, campaign coming out first, multiplayer coming out later, and then eventually over time they would release different story content, because this game is supposed to be a 10-year title. We weren't going to get any more Halos after that for at least 10 years. They would just go ahead and update it, kind of like Destiny in a way, where they just kind of give you more stories and everything is taking place on this Zeta ring of Halo. Of course, we had the news that it was a early build of the game. If some people said several weeks, some people say a few months. Whatever it is, it was supposed to be an early build of the game, supposedly. And then we've heard that there was a lot of conflict within the company itself. developers leaving, creative directors stepping down away from the project, 2 different games, 2 different ideas for the game. It just sounds like Halo has been a disaster. It's not a good look for Microsoft, at least from 343, who was supposed to be a premier studio for them. Right now, Halo is probably one of the few games that I can say Microsoft has to get right. So I think that the delay is very important and actually the smartest thing they could do. However, I feel like at this point, making the game cross-gen is pointless. It truly is. You might as well go ahead and make the game a full next-gen game, release it in holiday 2021. A lot of people may be upset that the game is no longer cross-gen, but at this point, it's no longer a launch game, and you're going to be a whole year in with a new system. Make it a killer app for that system going into holiday 2021. It makes no sense to go ahead and force the developers to make a cross-gen game for the ideas that they want to accomplish they're not able to do because it's being held back by the Xbox One. That's just the reality of it. Xbox One, no matter how you want to play it, is holding this game back. And what I mean by that is that from a scalability, and I think this is what people get confused at, you can scale graphics. And I think
A lot of people don't understand that.
Right. I think people think when you talk about holding a game back, they think from a graphical standpoint. It's not from a graphical standpoint. It's from a design standpoint. When you have more power from a design standpoint, you can do things that you just can't do with weaker hardware, right? So if you have an Xbox Series X and the CPU is like 40 times more powerful or some crap 4 times more powerful than the Xbox One, right? There's going to be things that you can do with that you can't do with the Xbox One. And you can't have a campaign where, let's say, one person sees 100 people on screen and another person sees 10. One person can't travel through the entire Halo ring in a Banshee while one person can only go, to this one particular part of the ring before the game stops them. The experiences are going to be different because one is limited by hardware, whereas the other one isn't limited by hardware. So it's post up. When one isn't limited by hardware. So it just makes sense to go ahead and make this game a next-gen game so that way the developers can accomplish their ideas and goals and what they originally wanted with the game. Like, I get Phil Spencer wanting to appeal and sort of, keep that Xbox fan base happy. Like, don't get me wrong, that is a smart thing to do. You want to do that. That is very consumer friendly. But the reality of it is, now that this game is delayed, it makes no sense to try to continue to force the Xbox One to continue to be relevant. Move on 2021 and have Halo be a complete next-gen title. What do you guys think?
You know what you could do to stay consumer friendly? Because like in my mind, like they've delayed Halo into 2021 now. So when is that? This console's coming out in November. They said that in the same 5-minute span that they announced that they delayed Halo. Mm-hmm. So the console comes out in November. When is Halo Infinite going to come out then? January, February, March, April, May? If it's still within that window, sure, release that game on Xbox One. Another thing is, like, a year is not enough time to rework a game to completely take advantage of this new 10 times more powerful platform. So they would have to delay the game like 2 or 3 years, which then were like 8 years since a Halo game, which maybe is build type, but you can't do that because the studio has already spent probably hundreds of millions of dollars making this game. So I don't entirely agree with the thing. Rob and I talked about it a little bit. I don't entirely agree with the cancel it on Xbox One, because not only is that 55 to 65, whatever the hell the made up, not revealed number is, because we're ashamed of it, whatever that number is, those are people that want to play that game, but they don't want to spend, $600 to do so. So, and it's already been announced. There's a PR hit then if you've announced the game in 2018 for Xbox One, and then you cancel it in 2021, people are going to be upset about that. A concession you can make is, okay, Halo Infinite's multiplayer, which is free to play, is available on Xbox One, Xbox One S, Xbox One X. You can play it there. But if you want to play the campaign, it's on Series X. That's still going to be a PR hit. People are still going to be upset. So I don't really know what the solution is. Really, all I have to say about the whole situation is, what the hell does the system launch with now? Nobody's going to go out and buy an Xbox Series X for Gears Tactics and Flight Sim. I mean, I'm going to go out and buy a Series X because this is the one huge hobby I afford myself, and it's obviously something that I want to work in, so I need to be there on the ground floor, right? But like the average Joe, what is he going to go and buy an Xbox Series X for? He's not going to do it for a Gears XCOM like and a flight simulator, if that flight simulator comes out on day one, and then otherwise, it's just kind of like
let them be mad, man.
What do you buy the console for? That's kind of the big point of what is
my whole thing about this, man.
That's what I was gonna say. Excuse me. Now they don't have to crunch. That's the most important part to me, because they shouldn't have to crunch.
Yeah, yeah.
That's important, that people don't have to work 18 hours a day and they can put in a normal amount of hours every work day and get the game done. Because sure, they might have gotten the game done by November or December, but they're burnt out. And if you read some stories of people crunching, the accounts from family members, spouses, the people themselves, that's hell. And that makes people hate making games. And studios that crunch like that on big projects, they usually have mass exoduses. And that's not something that you want to deal with. So,
well, I look at it like this, man. This game should have never been for these systems in terms of the Xbox One, One S, and the One X. It shouldn't. It should have been exclusively to Series X and the PC. If people was going to be mad about it, let them be mad.
Let them be mad at the beginning. Yeah.
Let them be mad. They're going to be mad regardless. And my whole perspective on this is that they had two designs, right?
Sure, yeah.
They started in Unreal Engine 4.
Mm-hmm.
And then once SipSpace Engine got done, they moved from Unreal Engine 4 over to the SipSpace Engine. Now you have two versions, and I presume that one was the bigger scale. One was the one that you wanted to be so huge that players would have been able to fly to any part of the Halo ring. And then you had this other version, which was on a lesser scale, because you know the One S, and the One X, when they would be able to do the full scale game. If that's the case, make no compromises. You know what I'm saying? Go straight Series X and give us a full Halo experience. Give us the full open worldness that you wanted the game to have. Now we know graphics scale, but design don't. And I could tell that the one that they showed was the lesser version based on how it was based on the design. Based on them holding back. I really don't care. Developers they tired of them Jaguar cores. I'm gonna just say it. They do not want to keep programming for them old ancient Jaguar cores. Mm-hmm. Let it go, Phil. I know you're trying to bring everybody with you, but let it go. They are a headache.
Right.
It's definitely
go ahead.
It definitely feels like a overcorrection, because I feel like Xbox has made so many mistakes in the past with the decisions the brand makes. There have been so many times that they've done things that people are like, what the hell are you guys doing? That then they do things that are like, okay, now last time we completely abandoned that generation, save some ports of like Titanfall and Forza Horizon 2. Now you're going to be able to do whatever you want on your Xbox One that you could do on a Series X. And it's like, okay, people aren't going to like that either. Like,
you're not going to get the full vision of this game.
That's what I'm saying.
Hold on to Jaguar cores.
This is
that shit was ancient. They sold an ancient technology this generation.
Right.
When they gave us the cord, that shit was already ancient, bro. Let it go.
This is my thing. Look, Mike, you
Can I say
look,
one thing?
Phil, go ahead.
Yeah, I thought it coming. I thought it by a mile coming.
You
I
saw the
legit
delay
did.
coming?
No, I legit did, and I said it from day one.
You saw the
By
delay
then-
coming.
After the
But
show,
then-
I said it was gonna be delayed.
No. I thought
After they showed it, I'm like, man, put-
I just don't think saying a game's going to be delayed during
No,
this
uh,
pandemic is like what.
No. It's not about the pandemic. It's about them working on two versions at one. When you do that, you're going to have way more time. You're going to need way more time for that. And we started to hear rumors about the lead developer,
Lead developer,
writer.
lead and directors leaving.
Yeah,
Because
exactly.
they were kind of fighting on what direction the game should go in.
Yeah.
So,
You know,
yeah,
and he was
exactly.
big. And that director that leave, I think he came over from Bungie.
Yeah.
Yeah,
man.
so I was like, I from the second I found out that the Halo Infinite was going to be on this current change, I was like, yeah, no, there is no chance in hell for this game to be that wow Halo factor.
Okay.
Because when you have Series X and it's going to dominate in terms of power over the X, the S, then
And the
you're
PS5.
going to be held. You're going to be held back, not by graphics.
By
Graphics
design.
by
Yeah.
exactly
Yeah.
by
Yep.
design. That's
By
what I
design.
said. When Microsoft tried to go full pro consumers, they actually became anti-consumers because they're giving their fan base something worse than what they could have given them if they just focused on one single platform, which is the Series X. And look where that got them now. Now they're forced to delay the game. Now they're forced to work on the game for at least a year, and hopefully it turns.
We don't know if
something-
it's at least a year. We don't know that.
I
That
think
game
it's
could come
gonna
out.
get
That
it.
game could come out in February. Come on.
Nah, next fall.
I don't. We'll see. They said. Here's a more likely scenario. I'm gonna say. They said 2021 because if we say console's coming out in November and Halo's coming out in February, and then something happens again and it needs to come out in March, people are gonna be pissed. So just mitigate that now and just don't say a release date, even if internally you're shooting for February. Then if something happens, then you
Look.
can say March later, and it's fine. Like that's
Nah, Cam.
The reality of it is that look, you've already as the head of Microsoft, you've already said and done so many things that the most people won't even blink an eye if you go back on your word because you've done it so many times. Like, let's just keep it
No,
100.
I mean, people do, right? Like we are on Twitter all the
Yeah,
time with people that go, "That's an L" about anything that they do. So-
Right. So if I'm Phil Spencer, right, the reality of it is this: I tried to be as consumer friendly for my fan base as much as possible and give them a mega AAA title at the end of the generation. Unfortunately, due to development issues, due to COVID, due to a lot of issues within the company itself, within the development team within itself, we can no longer reach those goals. We just can't. And if you are a Xbox gamer, right, the idea of no longer being able to play Halo on your Xbox One system, it's okay.
Yeah.
You're gonna be upset. That's fine, but it's time to move on. It's the end of the generation. This isn't new. This isn't something that we haven't done before. Every single
It's
generation.
trying to be-
Like,
Yeah.
I had a conversation
I'm
with-
just
I had a
I'm just
conversation
saying there
with
are
dude.
people that they don't got
Mario
money for next gen
64
consoles.
was on the SNES.
Look,
That was-
I had a whole conversation with a guy about Destiny
Mhm.
and and we were talking about scalability, and he was talking about how with Destiny 1 there were certain things in the game that weren't in Destiny on Xbox One and PS4. And what I told him was the difference between those two platforms, between those two games, they weren't cross-gen.
Yeah.
One game had its own entire base on the Xbox 360 and the PS3, and another group had their own base on the Xbox One and the PS4.
Yeah.
So you didn't have to worry about scalability when it came to design. You could design two different games.
Yeah.
You can't do that with Halo at this point. You just can't. So the best thing to do, because it makes no sense to launch this game a year later to try to keep. First of all, you don't even have Xbox Ones coming out anymore.
Them things been discontinued for a while.
Right, you've already discontinued the Xbox One, and you know what I'm saying.
The X, you just did the X.
And the X, exactly right. Then
you
you're going to talk about launching the Xbox One S and the Xbox Series X and still try to have a cross-gen game for what? Just move on. And you're in the generation. It's not like the Xbox One doesn't have a plethora of indie games and third-party titles coming out at the end of the generation that you're going to end. Even in a perspective of it being timed, like Yakuza or not Yakuza, like the Ascent and other games like that you showed in May, and some games that you shown at the last event that's going to be still coming out on the original Xbox.
That's what.
So you go ahead and move on.
That's why Sony came out and was straight up front with that, saying, "Hey, first party wise, we're not putting PS5 games on the PS4 because they knew the SSD drive on the PS5 and the mechanical drive on the PS4. They knew from a developer standpoint it would have been causing issues with the design and scales of the game.
And the PlayStation has sold."
It would have been too much.
The PlayStation has sold 112 million units.
Yeah, but
so you don't need to put out first party games on it anymore.
Why would you?
But yeah, what I'm saying is it's sold 112 million units, so you're gonna make software money off of it anyway.
I'm just saying, regardless
FIFA
of
30 is gonna be there anyway.
I'm just saying, regardless, I don't think the sales was an issue. The issue is that I have a new piece of hardware. And our selling point for this hardware is the SSD. We have PS4 and PS4 Pros on the market with mechanical drives. You're not going to get the same performance and build out of that game as you would on the PS5 on the PS4. So you cut it. Look, you cut it. Along with them Jaguars, look. We ain't making no PS5 games for no PS. We can't.
But
we can't in order for the SSD to be fully utilized.
But what I fail to understand is this. Did he not see this one coming? Did he not see this one coming during when you hear the lead writer and lead script lead writer and lead
writer's different. That's not gonna have any
I'm not sure. I forgot which one it is, but two key people left the company. Would you then not go to the company and look at the issue? Okay, what's the issue? Oh, Series X is having issue, and Series X we want to focus on, but we're being held back by the X and the X. Okay, cut your losses. Like it could have been done long time.
Did he go out?
I got a perspective that at the end of the day, Microsoft has to make a decision. I think they're going to kind of continue to go ahead and make the game cross-gen because that's what they have already promised. But I just think that can you guys understand what I'm saying? Because people are saying my
Okay, you good now. Your voice was a little bit sluggish, like slow, but you good now.
You're fine now.
Actually, was turning into that Superman. Someone said.
Yeah, I got to get a new mic. There's something wrong with my mic. I got to buy a new one. But yeah, I just think at the end of the day, what Microsoft has to do is, if I was them, if I was the person in charge, I would go ahead and make the game basically next gen only. This
Yeah.
really
That's a
falls.
whole new game then.
That's what it needs to
And
be.
then that game doesn't come out until 2024.
No, it's not 2024. That's not what it is.
Yeah,
But
that game doesn't
it's
come out
not.
for years.
It's
though.
not, because I guarantee you they have that code already. Remember, they had two different games.
Which game?
If you make it
I've
a next
never
gen title.
I've never heard anything about this two.
Yeah,
different games. I've never
listen,
seen
no,
anything about that.
This is the whole reason they had two different games, right?
But
One
they-
was going in one direction, one was going another direction. This is the whole reason why the developers at that studio wound up getting to it. And really, I blame Bonnie Ross, because she's the head over at 343. And since being the head of 343, I truly believe that they have not succeeded with what they needed to do with Halo. In every instance, they've had Halo at a point where it never matched one quality on one side. Halo 4's single player campaign was great, but the multiplayer was it was meh for most people. Halo 5's multiplayer was great, but Halo 5's campaign was meh for most people. Now you had an opportunity to get both right, and now it's even worse. You know what I'm saying? Now I'm not saying that when the game releases, it can't be great. Nobody's saying that. The game can be phenomenal. However, the fact that it's going through these things, you are basically the flagship studio. Like 343, because it's Halo, is literally the equivalent of Naughty Dog to PlayStation. That's what they should
Or a
be.
Mario game on Nintendo.
Right, like that's what they should be. But because they've had so many issues trying to get Halo right ever since, the franchise left Bungie, it's like they've been trying to get their own identity with Halo, and it hasn't worked out. That's why I've always said they need to make their own game. I've said this a million times. I've been saying this since 2014, since I started Tick Podcast. I've been saying for years, the Coalition and 343 need to make their own games.
What do you mean on game?
They need to make
Not
Halo?
Halo and not Gears.
Yes, not Halo and not Gears. And the reason why I say that
That's happening in
is
Coalition.
because what winds up happening is when you create new content, you get new ideas. And when you get new ideas, you can then figure out ways to implement that in older content. And when you're trying to ride the wave of somebody else's creation, it's very hard to duplicate that. So in my opinion, I felt like being able to make your own content allows you to then turn around and build the game that you want to build with your own fresh ideas. But you're still riding the wave of Bungie, and people look for that, and it's not happening. It's just not happening. So
they left in the shadow of Bungie.
right, and that's the problem. Like the Coalition has done a good job of at least making Gears to the point to where it's kind of have its own identity separated from the original Gears with the new characters and the new story direction. Even the way they built the new game where it's kind of like semi-open world and you're driving around, that kind of gave it a new fresh flavor. Whatever reason people want to say it wasn't that good, I thought it was excellent.
It was It
phenomenal.
was a good game. It just wasn't written well.
Yeah, I don't know. I never really looked at Gears as this, amazing.
Well, wait.
story. I think it could be deeper though, but that's just
Then
me.
they tried to, and I think they failed. You know the thing I'm talking about at the end of that game. I'm not going to talk about spoilers,
Right.
but that's very stupid to put
But
in a Gears game.
Halo is such a big universe that it truly is, and Microsoft's vision, the Star Wars of Xbox.
Mhm.
You can do so much with this franchise. It doesn't just have to be about Chief. Sometimes,
That's my biggest problem with it.
yeah, sometimes
They
the
will
fan
not
base is
go
so
away from Chief because
Well-
Chief makes them the money.
but that's the thing. The fan base can be so stubborn that
Mhm. People weren't happy about Reach when that got announced because it wasn't about Chief.
Right, that's what I'm saying. But it can be a double-edged sword to a fault. You know what I'm saying? Because it's like the fan base doesn't want to let Chief go, and you got to be able to expand the universe in order for it to grow and survive. So I just feel like make this game a next-gen title, let it be Chief's last story, and then you expand from there, go on to something else. Maybe do a story from the perspective in Elite. Do the Elite homeworld, do Elite honor and lore and things like that, or maybe do an anti-hero thing and what it's like to be a part of the Covenant at the beginning. One of those type of things. But you got to be able to expand beyond just Master Chief and the Spartans, because at some point it's going to get stale, and that's what's been happening over the last few years. You know what I'm saying? And now you have this issue with the developers. They got different ideas. One vision, like post said it. One Vision, you could take a Banshee and look at any part of the Halo ring and fly from that part to the other side of the Halo ring because the Xbox Series X had the power to do that. But guess what? They took it out because the Xbox One can't do it because the CPU is garbage. You know what I'm saying? It's not capable. So instead, now they have to change it and make it islands. And guess what? You can't put that in a Series X and then put that in the Xbox One and ship it. It's two different games. It's the experiences are just not going to be the same. So drop the Xbox One version, make a next gen version, do the game the way you want it to be. Right.
And that's why I respect Phil's decision to say, look, because my thing was they had one or two options. They could have put the game out as is and then bring out incremental updates to kind of build on the game throughout the year. And they could have hid the game behind Game Pass, like they did with so many other titles, like they did with Sea of Thieves, like they doing with Grounded and stuff. They could have just dropped it in Game Pass and say, hey, we're going to put out these incremental updates, and over time the game going to get better with content and things like that. But the fact that Phil say, you know what? Nah, squat that. We're going to delay this game, and you guys going to get the time and resources need to do this game right. Yeah. After it get done, somebody needs to be fired. Quality control managers needs to be bringing in, because whoever over there doing quality control don't know what the fuck they doing. Whoever's managing Halo in that studio don't know what they doing, and that's been known since they took over this franchise. They just haven't hit the right accord with it. So I'm in agreement with Cal. Look, okay, well, I'm gonna talk about that after the show. I'll talk about that. I can't talk about that right now, but have 343 do something else, and then if I'm hearing what I'm hearing is correct, then they can come back and do what they do. You know what I'm saying?
I've heard what you're talking about too.
You know what I'm saying?
I know what you're saying, and I think that's probably the best idea. But there actually was. I was looking at chat. There was a Halo MMO being made at one point. Yeah, I think that was the right call. It's not a call that a lot of people are going to like, but it's a necessary call to say, hey, this game's not coming out right now, no matter why it was done. But I think if you don't want it on Series X, at the very least, put the fucking multiplayer on Xbox One, because that's a bunch of people that you can have playing that game, and it can still run at 60 frames per second. Like,
look, man, look, you
it's already going to be on PC.
Alone, Cam, let it go, Cam, let it go.
What's your take? So,
hold up, why am I being told to let it go?
Let it go, Cam. You trying to hold on?
It's free to play. Put that shit everywhere you can. Put that shit on phones.
Oh my God! Listen, I don't know, man. Look, Halo is such a big flagship title that you can't mess this up. I truly feel like
you can't.
Here's the problem. Here's another thing. Also, Microsoft.
Can I say one thing?
Go ahead.
Go ahead, go up.
Jubei Sensei said, "How about make Halo an MMO?"
No, yeah, that's what he was just saying. I don't know. I don't know about an MMO.
If there's one that's maybe like Destiny that has like strikes you do when there's gear score, sure, but like. When you say MMO, to me, I just think World of Warcraft. No, I want that. I don't want that.
Well, I just think they went wrong with it out the gate. Everything that Bungie covered it with Master Chief and how they didn't want to humanize them. You know what I'm saying? And things like that. 343 came in and did the opposite of all that. The whole perspective of Halo. I forgot who did that video. But he did a video where he took Bungie philosophy of Master Chief and the whole universe, and he compared it to 343 philosophy, and they was total opposite. Everything that Bungie went for in terms of how they approach the game with fun, how they build the game and stuff, everything, 343 was the opposite of all of it.
Yeah, they wanted to give emotion. And I don't think with Halo 4, I don't think that was the bad way to go. But like, I don't know. In my mind, I keep comparing Halo to like Star Wars, right? Where Halo and Star Wars both had this incredible like golden age where it was huge, and it was huge for a long time. There was a lot of shit that spun off of it that people loved. books and comic books and cartoons and whatever else. And then they tried to make big numbered entries again, and people were like, "No, I don't want that." And how do you write that, right? Like, how do you fix that?
I don't think Bonnie Ross gonna
I
do
have a
that
question.
anytime
Yeah.
soon.
Wait, hold up. I got a Gaming Addict coming in as a guest. He wants to
Okay.
pop in and give us an opinion on Halo.
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we hear you now, Gaming Addict. Addict is from shout out to Gaming Addict. He's here right now. He's gonna pop in and give his opinion on the Halo situation. If you don't know him, he is one of the lords of what is it again? Iron Lord podcast.
Okay.
And one of the founding members of that team. You
After
know,
you're done, I want to give my insight.
sure. Go ahead, Game.
Well, when it comes to it, I personally think 343. It's like you said, Cal. I think 343. They're like in the halfway. They don't know how they want to make Halo. I personally think they've let trends make Halo, and they've let the gaming community make Halo. They've never made Halo. Halo 4. They made a story. They made the story. I think that's the only thing they did was make Halo more of a person and not just a shell.
Right.
But the multiplayer was Call of Duty because of the trend that was going on.
Mm-hmm.
Then you jump over to Halo 5. I don't know what happened with that story. Maybe it was development hell. And then Halo 5, they did the war zone because of all the stuff that was going with the microtransactions. Like, I personally feel like when it comes to Halo, 343 lets the community that plays Halo, and they let the people, the trends that are currently go on.
Yep.
Like right now, look at Halo Infinite. They're going for the
Agree.
Destiny money. They're going for the Destiny money.
Yep.
They don't try to make Halo their own. They're trying to make Halo everything else.
Yep. I
When it
agree
comes
with
to that's one of the things that Bungie was straight on. You know how many people tell Destiny to do this, Destiny to do that, and Bungie's like, no, Destiny doing whatever
That's how you-
Destiny wants to do. Like,
That's what you're supposed to do. You're not supposed to listen to everything everybody's saying and then just do that. That's the wrong way to go.
Halo
about it.
5 with all that boosting and running and
But
so I don't have an issue with that. Like
I think that movement in 5 was good. Some of it
I
was
think-
unnecessary, but
I think the movement slightly moved on. It could have been good in Halo. Like, for instance, that was probably the one thing that they did. They're like, you know what? Let's make Spartans actually play like Spartans.
Yeah.
Let's not let them be slow. And then the community backlash. No, we pulling it back, man. Like, no. For instance, they're like, let's have Locke. Let's build him up as a character throughout a couple games, and let's have him replace Master Chief. Community didn't like it. Let's roll that back, man. They don't like it. Like,
Yeah.
I need to
agree.
ask this. You guys keep talking about 343 as if they are their own entity. Doesn't Microsoft own them?
yeah.
Yeah,
so-
It
yes.
does-
But they're still their own studio.
But no,
Yeah,
I need to continue my
someone
question.
from Microsoft doesn't get to come down and say this is exactly what you're going to do 1 to 2 to 3.
Right, like
I mean,
But-
they
but
could
wait
do
a
that, but
second.
they
but
Here
nobody
is
would
an
want to work there if
example.
they did that.
this
I
this
need
is
to
what
ask
they do.
Tristan.
They leave
Here is an-
everything.
Can I
Sorry,
say one thing?
go ahead.
Here is an example about how Tony runs his business.
Mhm.
When God of War was being made by Santa Monica, Shuei Ishida went there, saw the gameplay. He looked at them. He said, "No, this is not it. Do it all over again."
Yeah.
He
And
did
despite
say
the
that.
fact they were already being in development, so I question myself, who is the equivalent of Shuei Ishida on Xbox side, and why did he not act as such?
Corey Barlog said that Yoshida went there, played the game, and he saw the disappointment in his eyes, and he knew they needed to change things.
Yeah.
He never told him to restart everything. The Phil Spencer, they do the same thing. Like, what the
Yeah.
difference between Sony and Microsoft is they got better people than I have no clue who this
They have
woman
people
is,
with a
but
history
they
in
have-
games for a long time. I don't know what it's
They-
like at Microsoft.
because clearly whatever Bonnie Ross is doing at 343, I'm not going to completely stamp that she needs to get out of their state until I see Halo Infinite. Until I see them play that game. If it's not there, that stamp's going straight on her name. It's like,
We
you
gotta
need to be
get
gone.
up out
I'll
of there.
say, I'll
And the
say right
difference
now,
between
We got to get up out of there.
she
the
gotta
difference
go.
with-
She
the
didn't have
difference
enough
between
time.
She's a
the
She didn't have
difference
enough time.
They don't have game. They need to have somebody that's a gamer. Bonnie Ross is a
Chris
straight
needs to
business
take
person.
over. Chris needs to take over. It's her number 2.
When you
Eh,
let me tell you something. I'm sorry, not to cut you off, but I'm gonna tell you the biggest difference is what you see when development teams in the studios do great is when they have actual gamers in charge. When Don Matrick was in charge, he's a business guy. You
Mhm.
see the direction Microsoft was going.
Connect.
Right,
TV.
right. You know, a bunch of 30-day DLC transactions, no new games, no new studio.
Mhm.
See Phil come in, all of that changes because he's a gamer. Same thing with Bonnie Ross. You know, when you look at people who don't make games and they're business people and they're
They
running
don't-
the games like a business, the games turn out like a business and they're
Uh-huh.
already fun. You know what I'm saying?
And I personally think that the difference between Microsoft and Sony is right now is that top person. They pretty much, this is how Microsoft and Sony do things. Like, yo, Bonnie Ross, Corey Barlog, you are in charge of that stuff. I don't think Corey's Bonnie Ross's level, but you get what I'm saying. It's like,
Yeah.
make sure this game comes out and is lit. The difference is Corey's doing his job and Bonnie ain't doing her job.
And that's and that's because, like, the example you use, Shuhei Yoshida, that man used to make video games, right?
And he's a
Like-
gamer.
Yeah, like, well, she used to make video games. He still plays video games regularly, right? It's the
Yeah,
same
yeah.
thing with Satoru Iwata. When Iwata was making decisions at Nintendo, Iwata fucking made Kirby, right? Like he's made video games, and that's why that business was ran for the best outcome for the video games. I don't know if Microsoft has
So
anything like
if
that
she
there,
is the
right?
issue, why doesn't Phil Spencer fire her?
I don't know if she's the issue. That's not what
It's
I'm
not. It's not that simple.
That's-
You just
that's not what
can't-
I'm saying.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you just
First
can't
off,
fire
you have
people like that.
contracts. The world we live in, you fire a woman, it even gets worse. So, like,
I don't know about
there's
that part, but like, yeah, you can't just.
There's a lot of
randomly
red
fire
tape,
people. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not that simple. But listen, at the end of the day,
especially how long she's been there.
the
She's been
smartest
there a long
thing Microsoft has done is delay the game and not push it out.
Absolutely.
The last thing I want with Halo is to turn into another. Let's wait 3 months for DLC to come out. Let's wait 2 years for the game to be improved.
And that's
Nobody
what I
wants
said.
that. Yeah, they don't
I was
need
like,
that.
I was like, at the end of the day, a lot of people care about the box, the Series X. I care about Halo more than I care about the box. Like,
Mhm.
hey, like, I was like, this is gonna hurt the launch title. It might hurt the launch title, but I feel like delaying this game's going to help the box more than delaying it from a
It's
launch
right.
title.
You're right. But it didn't. You are 100% right in
Delaying
saying
it
that. But
for-
delaying the game didn't hurt the launch. Delaying the game murdered the launch. Like
But
there aren't any other games.
Delaying
Yeah,
it.
and I agree with you, but
When
at
you
a
said
Say
delaying it,
something.
when you
I
said
just
delaying
wanna
it,
say-
do you want it to go? Do you want it to stay cross-gen, or do you want it to
Look,
go?
Who, me?
No, I'm actually asking Addict now.
Okay, go
I'm
ahead.
curious about his opinion.
Okay, say that again.
When you said delay the game, do you want them to delay it to remove cross-gen, or do you want to keep cross-gen?
So you're asking if they delay the game, how I'm having a hard time understanding the
He's
last part.
saying
of
that
the
if
sentence.
they delay the
Oh.
game, would you want it to stay cross-gen or just go straight full next-gen?
Look, whatever their vision is, if their vision requires just the Series X, do Series X. If they can do both, then do both.
That's what I'm saying. Like,
But at the end of the day, this game was designed for the Xbox One.
That's
Now, I do think that if you cut off the lower system, they could probably
They
ramp
could
up the
do some
textures.
crazy-
They can ramp up a lot of stuff.
but if they go, we're gonna go Series X only. Then if they want to add things that they can only do on the Series X, that's a different game. That's gonna take more
And,
time.
and then you got to look at it from a PR standpoint. They're already getting murdered for the statements they're
What
saying
I'm
now.
saying, thank you,
Imagine
man.
if they came out and was like, "Yo, we don't care about you,
These people
Xbox."
have-
owners."
Oh well.
55 million of them. You're gonna
And-
say,
How
yeah,
many
we know
people
you
said
know
they
we
not buying
announced the
X-
game 2
Look.
years ago for this system.
And this
Now, sorry.
is another issue with Game Pass. Like, look, they do want subscribers on that Game Pass, and the majority of them are on the Xbox One ecosystem. So if you cut that off, it's like you have to get an X to play these. Like, I don't know if they're
Yeah.
going to be willing to do that. Like,
and
I
how
just
many
don't.
X's are there gonna be out there, right? Like, we don't
Hold
know
up, hold up. What is the point? They've already said that they're not going to have no exclusives for the next 2 years. They don't care if you buy a box for 2 years. It doesn't matter. Who cares if they're not selling
But see,
consoles? at the
I'm not
launch
talking
platform?
about a console solution. I'm talking about a Game Pass thing. There's probably a lot of people that's continually staying on that Game Pass because they figure in a couple months they're going to get Halo. But if you cut off that entire subscriber base, then they're probably going to unsubscribe
You
because
still
they have to
have-
buy a whole
you
new
still-
console.
There's still
I disagree.
21 other games coming out on Game Pass, though.
I
But they
disagree
were
with.
banking on Halo.
There's a lot of people that are wanting that for Halo, and if you cut that Halo off, it's probably not a huge, massive
You're not
amount.
cutting it off,
disagree.
you just delaying the game.
I disagree.
No,
I
I'm talking
disagree.
about if you cut the Xbox One X and the Xbox One S out of the circulation, and you have to buy an X to get that. It's going to be a lot of people that's not going to want to buy a $500, $600 console just to continue
That's why-
subscribing.
But that's why you have the S. That's why you have the S model, which is going to be a lower entry model to get those gamers who can't afford, whether it's $500 or $600,
Yeah.
to come in and still have
Hey.
access to that to that type of next gen gameplay. I don't think the launch is messed up at all. Most people who buy these games are casuals, and they bound for multi-plat games.
No.
For
Okay,
2K,
okay. Let
Madden,
me.
Call of Duty, Fortnite. That's gonna be the main reason for
we
folks.
going to
Let-
Like, I know
let me-
people like with the first party exclusives, like that shit matter. But at the end of the day, we are hardcore gamers.
Oh,
are
it does.
a small group compared to casual.
I think
You're
I think in the
you're-
first year it matters. I think in the
You're
first year or two
100%.
it matters.
Like, I will disagree with you a little bit. Now, I do agree with you. I think that third-party they'll sell one more consoles than exclusives ever will. But I do think that when it comes to those first adopters, those hardcore gamers, they're looking at exclusives.
Yep.
You know, they're obviously they're going to be looking at third parties, but they're looking at exclusives now. I will say, if Halo Infinite is an Xbox Series X exclusive, and it showed the fidelity, it showed why it has to be on that console, and it popped out like a 90+ Metacritic. Put the other Xbox, they can go in the bushes because the thing is it is okay if it's an Xbox Series X exclusive if it's quality and it shows and it's.
And there's a reason for it to be.
But if it's not, and they piss off that subscriber base because they can't run it, and because of all this bad developing that they've had, this development hell, and it turns out to be a bad game or an average game anyway, it's going to hurt them even more.
Okay, go ahead.
We gotta move on. We gotta move on.
But it's a good convo. Continue.
No, it wasn't a
Conversation,
comment.
though.
It was.
All right, well, I'll take off. You guys have a good.
Thanks.
All right, Attic. Appreciate your
Thanks,
comment.
Gaming Addict, man.
All right. So
Take care.
so listen, this goes into the next topic that we have, which is the launch of the Xbox Series X and how to combat the delay of Halo. Now, by no means, just get this clear. Halo's delay is a good thing. There is nothing wrong with Halo's delay. I just want people to understand that, you know, I know a lot of people say things like, oh, you know, how come PlayStation can make a delay and no one cries about it? You know what I'm saying? It's the same thing. You know, I just think the biggest difference is with Sony's games, when they delay them, the platform is already out. Whereas you're trying to launch Halo with the Xbox Series X. The problem is that it's the end of a generation game as well. People tend to forget that it's a cross-gen game. So you're ending a generation with the game and launching a generation with the same game. You know what I'm saying? So it's a very difficult situation. But at the end of the day, the delay obviously is the smart thing to do. Now, how I feel, if I'm Microsoft, to combat this launch, if I was Microsoft, I would be paying out the wazoo to get any major third-party exclusive into Game Pass. And I don't mean as far as cutting off PlayStation, but just money having these games into Game Pass. If I can get Assassin's Creed Valhalla, if I can get a Cyberpunk 2077 into Game Pass day one, when you buy an Xbox Series X, I think that is a hell of a way to combat the fact that you don't have a Halo at launch. And relying on third party is what they're going to have to do in order to survive this launch.
Yeah, so
I
the
agree.
lineup now is like Yakuza, Dirt. They talk about the medium and scoring in their post on Xbox Wire. So like all of those are particularly not reasons that a lot of people are going to go out and spend whatever the price of the console is. A lot of them combined.
know that though.
Also,
And
you need
some of the games on Game Pass are going to be big, but like PlayStation doesn't have a lot right now. They have Astros, whatever world, I don't remember what that's called, and then the Miles Morales. That's enough for a lot of people to go out and buy a PlayStation.
And they have
5.
Godfall. Don't forget Godfall.
Yo,
I'm not going
looking
to
at
count
this
Godfall because
wrong.
that game does not look very good, and I'm thinking y'all going to go out and buy a system to play that game.
It doesn't. But here is the
Y'all
thing.
looking
Yeah,
at this
I
wrong.
agree. Godfall absolutely doesn't look. It
Doesn't look next gen remotely.
it doesn't look like Gen. No,
Y'all looking
I
at
really
this
hope
wrong.
they work on it. But still, people are going to buy a
Yeah, some
console just to
people are.
play it.
Yeah.
You know what? One of the things that we have to stop doing is we have the tendency as hardcore gamers to take our perception, our perspective of how we view games and what we like and apply it to a whole community of gamers. I think we're looking at this wrong. We're trying to look at a few titles and say, hey, it won't sell the box. You have to look at Game Pass as a whole and what they're offering. That's what's going to. I don't care what the hardcore thing, because I know hardcores are specific about
Aren't hardcore
what game
who buy the systems at launch though?
Yeah, look, but it's more casual gamers than hardcore game. My cousin ain't a hardcore gamer, but when he got a Xbox One S, he got an Xbox One S. He was going to get a PlayStation, but the disc drive didn't work. So he's like, "Give me an Xbox One S." That was his first time learning about Game Pass, and when he saw that 2K was in there, which 2K and I forgot the other game. That was all he needed. He was like, y'all giving me all these games for $15? That's a steal. I'm good. You know what I'm saying? And he's not a hardcore gamer. He don't care about the things that we care about. You know what I'm saying? So you have to think of Game Pass as a whole. When a casual or a soccer mom see a system, either the Series S or the X, and they see Game Pass as a whole and all them different titles in there, all the Final Fantasy, all the Kingdom Hearts, Yakuza, Dragon Quest 11, all these games, even games on small scale from my kids that go in there and download Sonic Racing games that we don't even play no more or wouldn't even play. You got to think of that when they see that and say, oh, I got access to all this content, not just these 1 or 2, 3 games.
Right.
They're selling Game Pass as a whole. They're saying, look, people are going to buy these systems or come into our ecosystem based off Game Pass as a whole and not 1 or 2 games that might be in Game Pass or might not be.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
This is my idea, because I'm sitting here saying to myself, if I go to the store and I'm going to buy a platform, right? Now, just as even as a casual game or even as a hardcore game, I'm an Xbox guy, right? I got to make a decision if I'm gonna get the PS5 or I'm gonna get the Xbox Series S, knowing that I want to get the hottest game, Cyberpunk, which is supposed to be the hottest game at the end of the year.
Mm-hmm.
Now I can buy that and spend another $60 on Cyberpunk, right? But if Microsoft is able to get some deal where they can get a game like that into Game Pass, when they can get a game like Assassin's Creed into Game Pass, day one, day and date, just to cover like the launch of Halo or whatever like that. Like they paid, let's say $50 million to get that done, right? I'm going to sit there and be like, yo, that's 2 AAA titles I don't have to pay for, not to the extent where I'm paying $120 per game. I mean, for 2 games, just the $10 to get in or the $15 for Ultimate or whatever it is. And I have access to these 2 megaton or major titles that's launching at the end of the year with whatever else is in there. You're literally buying a console, and more than likely, it's probably going to come with Game Pass.
It'll come with like 3 months of Game
Yeah,
Pass.
exactly. So basically, you're getting all these games for free anyway. So it's all about how they market that. Obviously, Halo is going to be a blow from a marketing perspective for the launch of the platform. But if you can market Game Pass right to the consumer at the end of the year and show that there's some major titles on there, maybe something big like that, I think that can really change the game for them.
Yeah. And apparently, from what I've heard, Jeff Grubb on Twitter, there's one more big one, and he's saying like it's a very big one.
Well, for Game Pass,
yeah, like there's another Game Pass game we're gonna learn about in the next 2 to 3 weeks, and it's gonna be like one that's gonna get people subscribed.
you look at Destiny in there, bro. all
Yeah.
the new Destiny, all the DLC that
Yeah,
comes with it.
there's no doubt
We're
Game
getting
Pass is a
60
value.
frames per
Absolutely.
second. And we're getting a 60 frames per second version. Now, also, xCloud is going to be huge in Korea.
Mhm.
And those companies, and you got Madden and all that stuff on xCloud already. Well, at least in the beta version. The beta version. I just think it's Game Pass as a whole, man. And I know that they're not finished with announcing games for it.
And they've already announced a ton for it this summer.
Yeah, I'm not afraid. I'm not afraid for the launch. I think they're gonna be cool. I think they're gonna be good. You know what I'm saying?
I think it's gonna be good for me. I come out and I'm critical of it. I said the launch is dead, but for me, like a Yakuza and then Scorn and Medium and things like that, like those are games I'm excited for. I'm cool with that. Would I've liked to have Halo? Duh. But like,
that's what I'm saying. I'm like,
I hope there's one more game that they have that's like this is
Right,
an
like-
Xbox exclusive, right? Like
I get Yakuza like a Dragon in Dragon Quest 11. Like I know Dragon Quest 11 is just support, but I've never played the Dragon Quest ever. That's a big deal for me.
It's gonna
It's a
be
big
big.
deal for me. You know what I'm saying? So for me, I'm really excited about what Microsoft is bringing to the table. Now, do I want to get a PlayStation 5 because of Miles Morales? Yes, I will. I will absolutely admit that trailer definitely is one that makes me say I want to get that game. You know what I'm saying? Like it makes me want to get the platform. I give it that much. Even if the game is standalone game, 5 to 10 hours, whatever it is, it is appealing to the point. And because it's a next gen platform, it's appealing to the point that it makes you want to get a PS5. But when I think about after that, I don't really know any other games that really has been. I've never been a fan of Ratchet and Clank. You know, game looks great though graphically, but I've never been one to be into Ratchet and Clank.
I don't even think that's a launch title.
Yeah, and then it's like everything else is kind of like later on or timed, you know, which is very similar to what Xbox had, which is a lot of time games. I love sci-fi stuff, so The Ascent for me is a big deal. RPG, you know, cyberpunk type game.
Are you
And
interested in Eternal?
what's that?
Uh,
That game where you always die,
Hotmark.
where the girl always dies over and over and over.
Yeah, indeed.
No, I didn't like that game. That game
Not
was-
enough to buy a system. to play it.
that game looks scary to me. I can't play that game. But yeah, I don't know, man. I just feel like I think Microsoft can combat this whole Halo situation if they were able to lock up some big third-party deal into Game Pass to make that even more appealing at the end of the year during holiday. If they could pull something off like that, or like you said, they got one major big third-party game that they're holding on to. If they can do that, then I think they'll be okay going into launch. Honestly, because look, I think both platforms is not going to have much.
Launches usually never do.
That's why Sony is going around trying to buy up every third party.
Yeah, I mean that's how it was. It was like that. Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
I just think launch. I've come to learn that all these generations that I've been through, man, that launch games to me aren't even important no more. They're just you usually get the games that don't really fully take advantage of the system. They usually be cross-gen, and they're just there to kind of get the developers through a year or two before you start really seeing what the real games that are being worked on behind the scene before they start coming out. So launch games, I mean, they come and go. You know what I'm saying? You might find a few of them that's great in there, but by the time the real games get to coming out, you ain't need ain't thinking about them games no more. And then the same thing gonna happen at this beginning of the generation. You're gonna have cross-gen titles, and you're gonna have Sony and Microsoft relying on third party to get them through the next 2 to 3 years before the real games. Just like Corey Barlog, he say it'll be 3 or 4 years or earlier before you see the game he working on. But he say by time you see it, you'll truly see what the PS5 is capable of.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So yeah,
That's what everybody really wants is a reason why they bought the new system.
Right. And I think that's how it is for, like I said, every new platform. It just makes sense. You know, I had a friend of mine who was talking about how Microsoft is dedicating themselves to this cross-gen thing. And I'm like, to be honest with you, they're not. Like, they said
No.
one thing, but when you look at the way they're delivering their
doing
games,
another.
they're doing something else completely different. All their major games are coming out exclusively on the Series X. The only game that they said was cross-gen, honestly, was Halo.
Mhm.
And that was it. And then a bunch of third-party content.
Do we know about Forza?
They removed smart delivery.
But Forza always seemed like it was going to be a next-gen game, just by what they talked
It
about.
has to be, bro.
Yeah, it has to be.
And we know for sure Avowed is not on Xbox One.
Right,
They
Avowed,
geared that up.
Fable, yeah,
Look
like
at that.
none of those games. You know what I'm saying? I think maybe the smalls had like Psychonauts 2. One of those.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
guess you could say from that perspective, but nothing major.
Them developers did not have fun with them Jaguar cores. I'm telling you.
Like Wasteland
I'm
3.
telling you, they want to leave them things behind, man.
Like Wasteland 3 is a game that nobody's talking about. No one's talking about Wasteland 3. It's just going to come out.
Titles for to come out, right? You got Battletoads, Wasteland.
Yeah, Battletoads.
What's the story joint?
Tell me why.
Tell me why.
Flight Simulators coming out on PC. Microsoft got some games dropping this month, but the reality of it is that nobody looks at those games as major flagship titles.
No, they're
So,
good to bolster
They're
games.
good games, right? When you look at the big titles that we all want, the Fables, the Avoweds, the Forza Motorsports, the Hellblade, yeah, all that's next gen.
Mhm.
You know, and that makes sense. That's when PlayStation and Xbox will truly compete, because by the time those games come out, you'll see the next God of War, the Horizon Zero Dawns, and whatever else they have coming out from Sucker Punch and stuff like that. So it'll be very interesting going in by 2021, 2022.
Yep.
I think that's when things are really going to start to pick up, and both platforms are going to really kick off. All right, let's jump into Epic and Apple.
Oh my goodness.
Google. So Epic has been trying to. I'll be honest with you. Epic has been a bully. If you really think about it, they've been a bully for some time now. I know Apple are a-holes, but Epic's really been the bully. And I mean, I remember when they were kind of crapping on Phil Spencer with the Windows 10 store and all that stuff like that at first. Then he turned around and dropped their own store, which seemed hypocritical. Now. They are in a position where they figured out a way to go around basically Apple and cut out their 30% in their store. And, obviously Apple isn't very consumer friendly when it comes to their products and sharing it with other people. Obviously, Xbox has Game Pass, and they do not want to have Game Pass on their store because they can't, I guess you could say, check out and review the games that's within Game Pass, my understanding.
Mhm.
Plus, I also understand that they get 30% cut for every game sold on their platform, which is one of the reasons why Epic has gone a way where if you want to buy something, you can buy it directly from Epic and not go through Apple, which has made them then turn around and kick Fortnite out of their store. And now I'm hearing Google has done the same thing. What is happening in the world of
Google actually banned.
Before y'all get started, I can't speak on this, so I can be contractually I can't. So,
Okay. All right. We got you.
It's crazy how fast they were. Like Epic got kicked off, and then they filed a lawsuit within minutes, and then released that. Have you seen that thing, Cal?
So they were expecting the.
Yeah, they knew they were gonna kick them off for doing that. Did you guys see that trailer where they emulated the Apple 1984?
Yeah, this is all planted. But do you think they can win the lawsuit?
It's crazy. That is insane. What'd you say? I'm sorry.
Do you think they can win the lawsuit?
I don't know about that. I have no idea about the legal ramifications or what they would have to do to go about winning or losing, or the other side winning or losing. I just think that it's nuts.
Yeah, and it is now Apple and Google against Epic.
Against Epic, yeah. So and they were like flexing that they did this with that trailer. Like they were like,
here's what I don't understand.
that's
right?
crazy.
Like I get what Epic wants to do, and honestly, because Epic's the underdog in all of this, I kind of am on their side a little bit.
If it helps get xCloud on Apple,
Right, absolutely.
I'm down.
I
Yeah,
would love to see xCloud on iOS. However, as someone who owns a store, imagine someone, let's say you own a store. Imagine someone wants to sell a product in your store and you don't get a profit from that product being sold at your store to your customers. Like, this is the issue. You know what I'm saying? Now, I
Yeah.
get 30% is probably pretty high.
That's
You know,
probably what the issue is.
That's
yeah.
probably what the issue is. It's probably just really, really
They
high.
probably want it to be like 10 or 15 or something.
Yeah, exactly. But still, even then, it's my store. I set the prices.
Yeah.
Right. So in turn, instead of us negotiating maybe a price cut, you decide to put in a workaround where I don't even get paid
Yeah.
in my own store. And then you're gonna sue me for kicking you out of my own store because I'm not getting paid. Like, that is insane. Like, that is the craziest part. What part of the game is this? You know what I'm saying? Like, that is hustling backwards. If I've ever seen it in my life, that is crazy. But it's just funny, man, because Epic has really been on some real, like, I'm like, when you really think about what they've been doing for the PC market as a store, they have really been changing the game. Battling Steam, getting exclusive, lowering their prices. Obviously now going against Google and Apple. Like, Epic is really out here being a bully, trying to change the game, and
they're making a lot of money doing it.
Exactly, and getting a lot of fanfare in the process. A lot of people are gravitating to the platform, and a lot of people are really liking the direction Epic is bringing.
I claim all those free games on the Epic Game Store.
Oh, absolutely! I don't even play on PC, and I get them.
Yeah, exactly.
I just download them anyway because they're free. You know what I'm saying?
Half of them I cannot run on my laptop. Right. But yeah, that's like. My man Jory in chat just said Epic gives a better cut to devs. That's important. On their storefront, they give a much higher percentage of the profits to developers. But this current situation it's crazy. And like, think about how like absurd it is that a scene from 1984 was an ad in the first place, and then the ad was parodied inside of Fortnite to do something about this. Like, that's so dumb to me, and I can't help but look at it and go, like, that's incredible. Like, what a time we live in when we can see things like that.
It's pretty crazy, man. Like, it's I have to say.
I have a question. If Epic would doing that, don't you think this would set a precedent for other companies to try to start this factory?
If they win, it will change enough to where the companies won't have to, probably. But like, yeah, like Supercell might do something because they make a bunch of money off of Clash Royale, whatever it's called, right? Like, who knows?
Yeah, it's definitely a weird situation. Obviously, it changes the game a lot if things do work out in Epic's favor. I know it won't be. I know Apple will be really upset. I know that much, because they're such a proprietary company, and they really want to push their Apple gaming.
Yeah,
anything they really don't.
Apple Arcade is their service.
Yeah, like they don't really want competition with Google Store, because I think once you open up the floatworks for Epic. You get Amazon store in there, Ubisoft store in there, store in there. Like, and then it just makes Apple have to work even harder to get people on their games. You know what I'm saying? They don't want that competition. So it's definitely going to be a very interesting lawsuit or situation. We definitely need to watch this a little bit closely, for sure.
It's going to mean a lot for gaming on most platforms, honestly.
Right. I absolutely agree. Let's jump into some PS5 topics real quick.
All right.
So I heard about some rumors that there was some issues with PS5 earlier in the year about it running games and overheating and not being able to hit Resident Evil 8. It was struggling with 1080p or something like that, and was struggling with 4K and was getting games at 1080p. Which I kind of find absurd considering the power of both platforms. And then I found out that was old, and that the new news is that, the game should be working perfectly fine now.
Hopefully.
PS5. Right. I don't know where these rumors spark up from. It's such.
I mean, I have literally a picture of a person put out a tweet with almost every rumor about PlayStation overheating, PlayStation this, PlayStation that, and source is just trust me. That's how rumors end up
Well,
in
that's
the
how it's
end.
been. But you know what, though? It's like that on both sides. Like you're seeing people say PlayStation has RDNA 3, and they're like, oh, trust me. You know, my source has so and so and so, and I've been right with these things. And you have another person saying that I'm a developer and I have this and a third. So it's just one of those things where it's going back and forth. It's just a lot of chatter. And honestly, I think we truly won't know what's going on until everything launches.
Let me
Mhm.
break down this thing. Let me break down
All right, let's hear it, man.
Dust Golem.
Dust Golem constantly talking about fucking Resident Evil, like day in, day
Let
out.
me tell you something. He's legit. I don't care. You can discredit him if you want to.
No, I'm not trying to.
I'm just saying that
No,
the Sony fans who are discrediting him now, but they didn't discredit him when he dropped that Silent Hill info.
Yeah,
He was right about everything Resident.
Did he cut off?
Oh, he's here.
They discredit him. They want to discredit him now because of the information. All he said was, "Look, a certain build of a game of Resident Evil 8 was having issues hitting 1080p 60 frames per second, which was a build that was months old, and he specified that when he wrote it down. He also went and said that, look, I do not expect the final game to be like this, given that it's Capcom. It will come out and hit its native resolution and frame rate once the final version release." Then he expanded on and say, "Hey, look, I'm hearing that from third-party developers that the PS5 is struggling with 4K resolution, and the Series X is in the PC don't have an issue with it." Once the Sony fans heard that, once they heard 1080 struggling with 1080p 60, all the other stuff he said didn't matter. It's instantly,
That's how it happened.
we celebrated you when you released this information before, letting us know what's going on with all these horror games. But now you're telling us something that we don't agree with. We gotta discredit you. You know what I'm saying? And I don't think that's fair. He specifically said, look, that's why the trailer was running like that, because it was captured from that build of the PS5. If I'm not mistaken.
Mhm.
And he wasn't trying to trash PlayStation or anything like that. He was just saying what he was hearing from other the developers in terms of, he said it's going to be difficult for third-party developers on both sides, Xbox and PS5, because of how they build games on the current systems, meaning that the choice that Microsoft and Sony went with in terms of their SSD technology is totally different. And he was saying that third party won't be able to fully utilize the SSD technology on these devices, but first party will. You know what I'm saying? And he was like, they're going to have to find a way to kind of make it easy on them when they build the games for both systems. Everybody totally forgot all about that as well. He wasn't really down in the system or anything like that. He was just saying, look, this is what I'm hearing. And when you take developers who've been developing games for years in a sustained environment in terms of frequency with the CPU and GPU, and then you throw them in an environment where you say, hey, well, on the dev kit, we'll give you these hardware profiles where you can use sustained frequencies to get your optimization. But on the retail version, you won't be able to have that. Everything is going to be variable, and it'll be based off power consumption. Developers are used to working on games in a sustain, knowing what they're going to get out of it. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Knowing what the number's going to be. In this case, you're throwing them in an environment that's variable. Of course, it's going to be issues and things like that for the first few years. But I think as they grow to the hardware, things will change.
I agree. I agree. I mean, that's just natural development. You know what I'm saying? It's just like with anything. You see how games look. I bet you if you go back and you play Titanfall, the first game, and you look at some of the games that's launched now,
Yeah,
Huge difference graphically.
huge difference.
Gameplay, gameplay is concerned. Like, who would expected a game like Red Dead Redemption or Last of Us 2 to look the way they looked
Especially
on this hardware after all this time? So
Those are end of the generation games. They're always kind of
Right.
impressive as hell, yeah.
right. So so it's no different with new hardware. We're gonna get games that kind of look cross-gen at first, the first couple years, and then at some point we're just gonna see a leap in games, a leap graphically in games. That's why Hellblade and that Project Athena game looks so amazing
They
for
said this.
Xbox and PlayStation.
They call this man a bot. They say he's in a secret Xbox Discord.
Yeah, I saw
that's
that.
been made to
I saw
spread
that.
negative awareness on everything. Place
Crazy.
like what? What do people make? I don't think
Anytime you
it's
say
that serious,
something in any direction, you get called a bot or a pony. It's just
man,
like
I don't think it's that serious, man. Ain't nobody got no secret organizations out here trying to, especially if we not making no money.
the
Like
Xbox.
Aaron
Open
Greenberg is a part of this Discord, and he does things to like damage PlayStation. Like, who does that? Like, nobody does that, bro. Stop
Yeah.
it. It's
Yeah.
very, very funny. Let's jump into
I'm going to talk about Control.
I mean, I'll be honest with you. I didn't play Control. I know that Control has a thing where they kind of like you have to buy the Ultimate Edition in order to get an upgrade for next gen, and a lot of fans are upset about it.
Yeah.
Mm.
It's pretty anti-consumer. I don't like that, but I don't know the full details on it. I didn't know. I like kind of read a headline for it like a couple minutes before the show started, so I don't know anything.
I don't think the game did that well.
Yeah, I think that's definitely going to be part of it because they're not like owned by
Like,
anyone. They have a deal with Epic right now, but they're independent for the most part.
What is the issue? Like,
They even signed up with the Tencent. I
Tencent,
think.
yeah, they're making
Yeah,
the
how-
cross.
does anybody know how many games did Control sell?
I think 2 million. I can check for you.
Across 3 platforms is pretty okay.
Here's the thing. What is wrong with Remedy where they can't sell games? Has anyone
I don't
noticed
know.
that?
I don't know.
The
but
issue with
Control won a ton
Control,
of
it
awards
was the issue with Control. It was the frame rate. Sometimes it was not.
Yeah, but there's something about Remedy. Like, the last good game that they sold was, like, a lot of people go back to Max Payne, right? When you think about the games that they've sold after that, they've always either been cult classics or they just haven't done well. You look
So,
at
I just
Alan
want to
Wake.
say one thing. Remedy certified with Control sales, despite the lack.
Everyone, all developers are always satisfied with their sales.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't matter.
You're not going to say that.
And
although-
that's- gonna say they're not
Actually, no. If you remember, Crystal Dynamics came out and said they were not satisfied with Tomb Raider sales, and their sales was
Tomb
around
Raider at that time
7
sold 7 million.
Yeah.
That's just insane.
that
Yeah.
still pisses me off to this day.
Yeah,
We're
that's
not.
just stupid.
Oh,
though.
yeah,
That's
that,
stupid.
Real. That's stupid. That 7 million is amazing. You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying?
7 million is
But that doesn't
amazing.
make any sense. But for the most part, most developers are going to say that they're comfortable or happy with the sales. I look at Remedy and I'm like, Alan Wake has turned to a cult classic, but never was a big seller. Quantum Break wasn't a big seller. Control's not a big seller. They just haven't had. They produce games and people put them on this pedestal as if they're this amazing top tier company,
Mhm.
right? But the games don't speak it. Like, the games don't say they're a top tier company. And
The
I
sales
find that
don't.
very
I think
funny.
the games do.
I don't know. I mean,
I
at
don't think
some
Quantum
point you
Break
would-
was super great, but Control's like excellent. Like
I don't know, bro. I just look at it.
Yeah,
from a
Control is a
like-
fun game. Like, I really mean it. I like the concept of you being in one place and the world and the building shift around
Yeah.
you. It's really a very fun concept. It just the story was a little bit on the weaker side, and because the ending was not really that satisfying, and also the frame rate. That's the biggest issue with Control. Also, some of the guns were confusing in the term of which one can be upgraded and which one can't be fully upgraded. That was also an issue.
I didn't have a problem with the upgrading part, but it's weird. That's the thing. Control is like it to me. It has a sort of like air about it, like that those PlayStation exclusives, like the quote prestige game.
Mhm.
But it's strange. Like Control is like X-Files meets Max Payne, and I don't know if a lot of people were interested in that, but I know it reviewed very well. It won a lot of Game of the Year awards.
It did win some awards, and it did review well. I just look at it from the perspective like
Their games are weird.
Remedy gets talked about as if they are rock stars sometimes. Like when everybody thought PlayStation was going to buy Remedy, they put that goddamn studio up there like they were Naughty Dog. And I'm just like, I don't understand, But anyway, moving on. There's rumors that we might be getting a new Def Jam game.
Yo,
Yeah, I
Now,
saw that.
I've never played
trending.
a Def Jam game.
do you like wrestling games? Like, did you ever play wrestling games on like the N64 or anything like that?
No, the last wrestling game I played was like in college. This was like 2002, and this was like SmackDown, like
Okay.
or something like that.
Yeah, so those ones that like Fight for New York and Vendetta are considered to be incredible. And then Def Jam Icon, like as someone who bought that game the day it came out, it was not very good.
That's
But-
very interesting. But I mean, who do you put on this roster now? Def Jam's roster is trash.
The biggest point people make, and it's true. Like, I don't want to see Drake fight Trippie Redd. Like, that's not as interesting as DMX fighting Nas. Like, that was crazy.
Yeah, like I don't know the type of music that they would implement in that. I don't want to hear half the soundtrack be auto-tuned, and I don't want to hear the other half of rappers singing. Like, it's just one of those things where it's like, I don't know if a new Def Jam is ideal at this point. Who do you put on the cover? Rick Ross? Like, I don't
Maybe, yeah. Like,
I don't know, man. It's just I don't know. I think those type of games they shouldn't bring back. I think they're classics. They should maybe remaster
Fight for New York and Vendetta.
People just love nostalgia. Here is another rumor. This actually kind of confirmed. Ubisoft made contact with a person that worked on Scott Pilgrim.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, I love that movie.
Yeah. I can't remember his
No,
name.
no,
but
the video game.
Yeah, I know.
The guy who created Scott Pilgrim tweeted like 2 hours ago that Ubisoft has contacted him. So we're getting that game probably. Like,
oh my god, Scott Pilgrim is such a phenomenal movie. One of my favorite movies of all time. When he's like, he smacked the plaits out of her hair. Oh my god, bro! I love that movie so much.
I've never seen it. I should watch it.
Really? You haven't?
I've never seen. I have friends who are evangelists for Scott Pilgrim.
You have to watch this movie, bro. It is so good. It's so good. Brett makes you fat. Brett makes you fat.
Any news? I have a question. Any news about Crunchyroll and Plate and Sony?
No. Crunchyroll is Sony. What's
Not
happening?
Crunchyroll. Not Crunchyroll.
Funimation.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was. I thought it was Funimation. I thought they were buying Funimation.
Oh, Funimation. Sorry about that.
Oh, Sony and
Sony's
Funimation?
flat out going to buy Funimation, is what the rumor is. Yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Because Funimation is owned by Warner Brothers, and Warner Brothers still looking to offload stuff. So
yeah, that's another thing. Microsoft should have bought Warner Brothers. They should have worked out.
I agree.
Warner Brothers.
I agree, but who knows if they were really selling? Because now the rumor is like they listened to some stuff and then they were like, never mind, we don't want to sell them, or never mind, we don't want to sell them right now. So it's confusing. But yeah, Funimation potentially being bought by Sony. Does that mean the Funimation app is going to be exclusive on PS5? Probably not.
I don't know.
That,
Long as it's
but,
not Crunchyroll, I don't care about Funimation. Crunchyroll,
But I
can
actually
live
do. But here is the thing with Funimation: they can get you anime games for PlayStation.
Okay, yeah,
And
yeah,
that's
yeah.
what I care about. Because
I mean,
if you-
PlayStation already has all the anime games.
now,
Yes.
sadly, they don't focus really on anime games. But Sony boss came out and said they want to target anime next year or something like that.
That's interesting. All All right, let's jump into one of our final topics for the night. So I was having a conversation in a party, and I was talking to a few guys, and one of the things that kind of irritated me recently about Microsoft is their marketing narrative that they have, in my opinion, have boxed themselves in. Because I feel like at this point, after with the Halo situation, they've kind of put themselves in a position where, excuse me, pushing a certain narrative has hurt them. Jesus. So one of the issues that I'm sorry, I don't know, my throat is killing me right now.
Go drink some water and come back.
Yeah. So one of the issues that I feel like they've had is that they put themselves in this narrative, and it's kind of put them in a situation where they now can't get out of it without looking hypocritical. So Microsoft has been pushing this thing with 4K 60. And I started thinking about Halo and the way Halo looked. And, obviously, when you look at the game, honestly, it doesn't look like a 360 game. People always say it like a 360 game. It doesn't. Let's just keep it real.
Which Halo Infinite?
Yeah, Halo Infinite doesn't.
No,
look,
it did not look like a 360 game.
it looks good. It looks good. It just doesn't look next gen.
No.
So when you look at it, it's like, okay, but the problem is that they're pushing 4K 60.
Mm-hmm.
So when you look at the campaign, they're going for 4K 60. My concern is that at some point, as you start to get later on in the generation and the graphic fidelity for these games begin to get more intense, Microsoft is going to want to hit this 4K 60 narrative.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that it may affect the graphic fidelity of some games because you want to get 4K. You want to have this check mark 4K. And honestly, with reconstructive resolutions and being able to do, DLSS and stuff like that, you don't have to go 4K. You don't have to be native. But I think because Microsoft has put themselves in this position where they're like, everything has to be 4K, it has to hit 4K, there may be games that could look better, but won't. And PlayStation has not done that to themselves. They have not put themselves in a position where they're like, every game is going to be 4K or it has to hit 4K or it's a 4K check mark. And they can do 1800p, they can do 1440p and make their games graphically look phenomenal. And I think that Microsoft has put themselves in a position where it could really damage them if they really try to hit these marks all the time, trying to show that they have power through resolution and frame rate instead of showing they have power through graphic fidelity. And I think that's a problem. What do you guys think?
I don't. Cal, that box is more than capable of doing 4K 60 easily.
Oh,
It just depends.
yeah,
I know
but
you're
that's
talking about
the
every title.
I'm not saying every title. I'm just saying from a graphical perspective. Like if you take the power, let's say you're doing 4K, right? And you take away 4K and let's say you do 1440p or 1800p.
Mm-hmm.
That's more power to put towards particle effects. That's more power to put towards textures. That's
I
more
get what you're
power to
saying.
put towards. So my thing is, when do you say, let's sacrifice resolution, let's sacrifice frames to get this graphical or cinematic experience on this game to make it look the best? Because I think with Sony, that's what they are going to do, and they don't have to hit these check marks because as soon as Microsoft start putting out games at 1800p, it's over.
Yeah. I see what you're saying. I understand.
Like it's Microsoft. Oh, it's supposed to be the most powerful box. It can't do 1800. It's only doing 1800p. Oh, it can't hit 4K. Oh, it can't hit 60 frames per second because they've built this narrative of power, and that power means 4K 60.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Sony has it. Sony has only said that you're going to get the best games. You know what I'm saying? Some games maybe will hit 4K. They even came out and said that sometimes games will be 30 frames per second. You know what I'm saying? Because they want a cinematic experience or whatever it is.
Yeah.
But the point is that it gives them the leeway to put that extra power and to make graphically impressive games or games that have amazing physics because they take that extra power and put it somewhere else. Microsoft is going to take that extra power and put it into their check marks for 4K frame, 4K resolution, or 60 to 120 frames per second. And I don't know if that's going to be the thing that makes people say, look at this box and how amazing it is. When you then turn around and see PlayStation's games and you see how graphically impressive that is at a lesser resolution, but the resolutions aren't that big of a difference. 'Cause I'm telling you right now, once these joints get on Eurogamer, I guarantee you they're going to be like, well, you know, the DLSS reconstructive resolution is almost perfect as a 4K resolution.
Yeah.
You don't even need 4K. Yet I'm telling you, it's not ideal. And I think that it's really important that Microsoft fix some of the things that they're pushing out there before it's too late and they put themselves in an awkward position.
Well, I look at it like this. I don't think they really put themselves in a box in terms of next generation technology. They did come out and say, hey, if a game runs 60 on the current gen, it should be able to run 120 on the next gen hardware, or if it runs 30 on the current hardware, it'll be able to run 60 on the next gen hardware. And they also said that, you know, some games will be 30. I think Phil did specify that. I think it's on the developer whether or not if they choose if a game needs to be 60 or 30. I think next generation we are going to have 30 frames per second game. That's
right.
Something that you can't get around them. Some engines probably run better on 30 frames per second. Some games might fit better running at 30 frames per second. It might be a chance that Hellblade 2, what it's as cinematic as it's going to be, might be somewhere around 30 frames per second. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So it's going to be there. But I do think they tend to harm themselves more than help themselves when they keep putting out 4K 120 frames per second and 60 this and 120 that, and then you drop Halo, which wasn't even running in 4K. It was being upscaled. And look, you know, like please look, just stop with the frame rates and all this power talk. Just let the games do the talking.
Right.
The more y'all come out and say stuff, then y'all gotta retract statements and this and that, and it's just a PR nightmare. It's this man who doing marketing over there. I know it ain't. Please don't tell me Aaron Greenberg, because if it is,
and that's really what it is. It's marketing the console with the whole 4K 60 frames per second narrative. It's just one of those things where I'm looking at it like the like all of Microsoft first party, like Hellblade is a type of game that if it doesn't come close to how it looks, the way Xbox fans talk about this game, like if it doesn't come out close to how it's supposed to look with the presentation that it has, because once they hit 4K, 60 frames per second, or maybe 30 frames per second, or whatever it is, it's not going to be a very good look for Microsoft. So I really think it's important that they don't rely too much on the resolution frame market, and really just
put it on
the
box if you know it can do it, right?
Just put it on there and just leave it alone.
Resolution don't get you better graphics, it just gets you a clearer image. I do think that Ninja Theory though is going to be able to match or exceed what they've shown.
I agree.
Like they stated, they don't do CGI character models. And the reason why they say they don't do CGI character model is because, one, it's less work for them when they start working on the game, and two, they want the character models as close as the real thing that's going to be put up in a game as possible. So that character model that we saw in that in-engine demo, that wasn't CGI. That was a real character model.
Right.
And more than likely, it's going to look like that in game. And my God. Oh.
Right. But I just know that resolution does take a lot of power. It does. And frames definitely take a lot of power. You know what I'm saying? Like, remember, one of the issues that Xbox One X had with Resident Evil was that it had an issue with frame rate because it was hitting 4K. It wasn't until they dropped it down to 1800p that it was 60 frames locked. So it's one of those things where, obviously frames takes up a lot of CPU power, and then you have resolution taking up GPU power, and then you're talking about ray tracing on top of that, which is a heavy draw on CPU, a very heavy draw on CPU. So it's just one of those things where it's like, I think the power is there for the console. I just don't want Xbox first party to rely on 4K as a means of saying this is what the hardware can do, and not be able to push the game's look to its I guess you could say its purest form, to the highest fidelity you can get out of the platform. You know what I'm saying? I think if you can hit both of those, no problem, then I'm all for that. You know, I think 4K 60 should be ideal, considering we're doing 4K 60 now on some games, even when it's like dynamic resolution. You know what I'm saying? You're just trying to get those frames, the resolution locked at 4K. But I just know that once you start hitting graphic fidelity like Hellblade, you know, hitting 4K, maybe at 30, that could work. But 60, I don't know.
I don't know, because Microsoft machine learning technology is just not about image reconstruction. It is also texture based in dealing with character models, meaning that if I give you a 5x12, 5x12 texture, the machine learning can take that 5x12 texture and turn it into 1024 by 1024. So you can have the machine learning do like the low res model, you know what I'm saying, to save some of the power on the GPU. The machine learning will render that low poly count model, and then you can come in and do what you got to do over that. Actually, Microsoft said that they've been testing this behind the scene, and it works so well that they're gonna ship a game with low texture. I think with low poly counts or low texture counts on purpose, with the machine learning and all that stuff. So I'm kind of, I don't know. It's gonna be so many different techniques.
Probably was Halo.
You know what? He's probably right. Craig and them came out with machine learning. Craig was from the cloud or something. Yeah, you know. But I do agree with so many different techniques. Even the technological leaps that they made with the current gen is going to move over to next gen hardware, and it's going to put them in a position, Cal, where they are going to have to be able to run 4K 60 frames per second with ray tracing and stuff like that due to these techniques, because you're saving a lot of power and stuff. So
okay,
I can't wait.
Yeah, I'm very excited, man, for the end of the generation. Like I said, you know, I got plans. I was talking with some guys about these new TVs. I know Eurogamer just did a show. They talked about the new TCL Mini OLED.
Yeah.
But that doesn't do 4K 120. It does 1440p.
Yeah. Because it got HDMI 2.0.
Yeah. 2.1. I think the only thing they said right now that has 2.1 is the Samsung CX or the LG CX.
The LG CX.
Yeah. So that's something that I'm looking at maybe purchasing as well. Somebody also said the B9, the LG B9, and the Samsung
or the C9, the LG
or the C9, yeah, are two TVs to look at as well. So I'm trying to get those, man, and I'm thinking about picking up the Series X and the PS5 at the same time at the end of the year, because I know, again, if I don't get the PS5,
never will.
I'm not gonna buy. Yeah, I'm not gonna get it. It's just one of those things where, like, if I don't get it the same time I'm buying all this stuff, I'm not gonna get it. I don't want to wait 2, 3, 4 years before I pick up a PlayStation 5. So might as well knock it out all at the same time.
Cal, you got that PlayStation 5 yet?
You're missing out on Ghost of Tsushima.
Like, here go Karaba, missing out on Ghost of Tsushima.
I finished it and it's amazing.
You know, I've heard great things about that game, bro.
Yeah, no,
it's amazing. I finished it.
Said.
One of the best well-developed characters.
They're calling the game of the year. Even my Xbox buddy that ain't too far on the
one of the side quests are some of the best side quests I've ever played in an open world game.
Yeah. Before we head out of here, man, let's do a quick update on pricing for consoles, because there's been a lot of talk about pricing. And some people have had their predictions. I've been having a lot of debates about Xbox, and I truly believe that the Xbox Series X It's going to be $399. I truly
Wow.
believe that, and I truly
Wow.
believe that the Xbox
Interesting.
Series S will be $299. I believe that.
Digital.
I believe PlayStation 5 will be $499, and the discless one will be $399.
Digital Foundry came out and said that Xbox Series S will be 600.
Yeah, they said that, and PS5 would be 600. I doubt it. I doubt that very much.
I can see that because of the existence of the S.
You say you can't see what?
I can see that because them having the S.
Yeah, but I don't think the S is going to be. I truly believe the S is going to be an entry level system.
Yeah,
It's going to be $299.
yeah.
I don't see it being any higher than that. Not with a weaker GPU.
But it is rumors that the PS5 may cost more than the Series X.
That's
So
why I said
Microsoft
I
is
think
ready to undercut. They ready to undercut Sony.
I'm
exactly.
ready to know, right? Like I'm ready to
And
prove.
even Dust Golem, he talked about that in there too. He was saying, I know people might be upset, but get ready for the PlayStation 5 to cost more than the Series X. So we're gonna see. I will be amazed, and I think that's why you haven't seen the prices yet from either Microsoft and Sony. They both trying to wait to see who gonna drop the price first, who gonna set the table for the price, so the other one could come in and say, "Ha!"
In my opinion,
It really is.
it's so
But
easy.
it is. That's what they doing though.
Yeah, I think it's easy for Microsoft to go ahead and make the Series X $399 because you have a proprietary hard drive that you're going to be selling for like $100 to $200 as an add-on. Most people are going to buy that. Whereas with PlayStation, they're going to give you, it's not proprietary. They're going to give you a list of SSDs you can buy to upgrade. So Microsoft could supplement any money that they lose with the Xbox on hard drives
in game.
and Game Pass. That's what I'm saying.
I was waiting for it, Cal. Like, come on, say it.
Yeah.
And I
On
think
Game
that's what they're
Pass,
gonna do.
And that's
Go
what they're
ahead.
going to do. I truly believe that. You're going to wind up buying an extra hard drive. That extra money you would have spent on getting an Xbox, you're going to spend the extra 100 to 200 on another terabyte SSD and pop it in the back of that thing, and then you're going to have Game Pass, and people are going to subscribe to that. And I truly think that they're going to drop that console at $399 to come out to truly compete going into the next gen. And I'll be honest with you, there's no better reason not to drop the price of that after pushing Halo back to next gen. You know what I'm saying? It just makes even more sense. Bite the bullet, take the hit, drop the console at $399. Not only would you have by spec definition the most powerful console on the market, it'll be cheaper than your competition.
And that's what Dust said. He was like, it's going to be in a position where Microsoft is going to have the cheapest and the most powerful console on the market. Now, I don't know if this true or not, but that he's saying that's what he's hearing. That's a lot. Look, that system is more than how much that system is actually worth. Like you're talking about spec wise, if we was to build a PC, we'll probably be $2,000 in or more with the Series X spec wise. You know what I'm saying? That's a lot of money, man. And to think if Microsoft can bring that thing in at $399, oh my God, it's gonna be a massacre.
Yeah, it would be huge. It'd be definitely huge.
It'd be huge. And so that Halo being delayed, it won't matter in the grand scheme of things.
They won't.
It won't matter.
Nope.
I could wait. Give me a $399 system. I got 2K. I got Madden. I got COD. I got all these games that everybody play. Most of the times, you know, I hear a lot of people saying exclusive. But when they say what you play, I'm on Call of Duty. You know what I'm saying? You know, and it's just real. Even after I do my show with Z, they get on there. We on the panel, and I'm fighting all the ponies on the panel. And soon we get off, we hop on the Xbox.
Yeah, I know. I seen you guys playing CFP the other day.
We hop on the Xbox every time. And then the PlayStation guys, we still be in the Discord, but they be like, Who won it? Who running Warzone? You know what I'm saying? It's strict. That's why I said multi. I know that sometimes we kind of paint exclusives as the end all be
Yeah.
all, but it's the multi-plats, bro. It's the third party games that people play the most. You know what I'm saying? The exclusives gonna be there. You know what I'm saying? But when people get these systems, they want their Call of Duty, they want their Madden, they want
They
their
want 2K, they want FIFA.
FIFA, they want their
Imagine-
Fortnite and all that stuff. You know?
Imagine
PUBG.
getting a Series X at $399 and Cyberpunk day one in Game Pass. How big would that be?
You
That's-
still on that
that's-
Cyberpunk in Game Pass,
Yes,
man.
yeah.
You still on that cow.
I feel like they should do it. I'm a DM
I
Phil
think they
tonight.
should.
I'm a DM
Hey,
Phil. Like,
Phil gonna have to come with a bag, man.
yeah, he gonna have to like at least 50, 60, 70 million. But
More,
I'm saying you gotta
more,
get it
more.
done, bro. He's gonna have to get it done. You got to do something. But I'm just saying, $399 and a major AAA third party, you know, in Game Pass day and date, that would be huge, bro. I'm telling you, it'd be a megaton for Microsoft. If they was able to pull that off. But you know, some people say, hey, they still would have to compete with the all digital PlayStation. I know a lot of PlayStation fans that just they don't like digital.
Yeah, I would say most of the PlayStation fans I
Don't
know
like
do not
digital.
care- they do not care about digital gaming. They want
Right.
a physical disc.
They want physical discs, exactly.
You know
So-
what I said to them PlayStation gamers? Get ready for the revolution. Because you know what Sony about to do.
Yeah.
You know, they finna revamp PS Now. They're gonna give it the same offering and bring it close to or try to offer something better than what Game Pass offer.
I think we've had people on here before that have said they're not going to ever do what Microsoft has
They
done
doing it now.
with the day and date
Day and date.
exclusives on PS Now. That's going to happen at
That's
some
a
point.
nightmare.
You know what?
They might be like, okay, Sony Santa Monica, Naughty Dog's games, that's not going to be there. But like Ben's next game, that might just be there. Sucker
Yeah,
Punch's next game, that might just be there.
Cam, let me tell you something.
What's up?
Sony put out a job statement saying that come join our engineering team and lead the way as Sony lead the way in putting console quality games on all devices.
Oh no!
Okay, hold on. Then he came back and did a presentation and said that you will be able to play next generation games whether you have a PS5 or not. Okay. So what happened? Why didn't they do it? Why didn't they do it sooner? Why didn't they do it years ago? Where PS Now limit was 5 million users. That was its limit in terms of what it could handle. Right. Well, why did Sony take the PS Now out mobile devices and all that? Because they didn't have enough data centers and some of their customers was too far from the data center and latency was a big issue. They had to take it off, right? So Sony say, look, our PS Now can only handle 5 million subscribers. If we was to put our content on PS Now right now, day and date, and put our exclusives up there, we wouldn't be able to service majority of our fan base because we don't have the infrastructure that allows it. Pretty much at this point. So what do? You're already working with Amazon. You got Google out there that's a cloud service as well, and you got Microsoft. Well, I see Microsoft got more data centers than Google and Amazon combined, and they steady building them. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna go over here with Microsoft and say, look, we finna work together on this cloud technology, right? And then in response to that, we'll help you out with the sensors and imaging chips that you need for your Azure cameras and things like that, your phone and all that stuff. So once Sony finished transitioning their services, PS Now, PSN, over to the Azure infrastructure, and they're able to access the same amount of data centers as Xbox Live, then that's when you're gonna see the change in terms of them fully realizing PS Now as a Game Pass competitor. And then that's when you're going to start seeing their day one first party games be there in cloud day and date in their PS Now,
I believe
cloud
it.
and everything. I'm
I'm telling
telling
you
you,
right now, the day Sony does that, Game Pass truly has a real
they have
they
to.
have real competition.
They have to. You got Google out there
No.
that's revving up. You got Amazon that was about to announce their streaming thing but they pulled it back due to COVID-19. You got even Verizon talking about doing a streaming service, a cluster. You got all these big companies that see gaming thrive even through financial difficult times. The game industry has continued to thrive, and so Microsoft ain't your only competitor now, and you got people out there that can outspend you. You have to have your content there day to day to be competitive.
Yeah.
And that's why they got with Microsoft. Look, hey, we're not going to let these outsiders come in and take control of what we've been doing. So my enemy of my enemy is my friend.
Yeah.
Right.
We're going to combat these other companies like Google and whoever else try to come in here together. So we're going to work on this cloud technology together. And they're going to help push each other.
No doubt. Very excited for the next generation, man. I don't know when is Microsoft's next event. I heard it might have got pushed September.
Yeah.
That kind of sucks. I really was
It
looking
does
forward to
suck.
something in August.
I heard Sony got an event.
And this
coming
month?
up. Yeah, around the 20th or sometime towards the end of this month.
I hope so. That'd be exciting to
That
watch.
also might be being pushed because of Microsoft. So who knows?
Oh, it's supposed to be the teardown, and
Yeah,
really.
it was supposed to be the teardown,
I think
and
they're
a
gonna show
big,
some more games.
it's supposed to be the teardown and a big PlayStation 5 launch title reveal.
Okay,
Nope.
and I think they're gonna talk about the
I-
price and pre-orders too.
Yeah.
So
Pre-order.
A couple
Yeah.
months out from launch, talking about a launch title is crazy.
is
But we live in
insane.
crazy times,
yeah,
right?
it's we're a
There
couple
is
months
a
away
rumor
from this.
There is a rumor Final Fantasy 16 and Grand Theft Auto 6 being
Yeah, I'm hearing
If
that.
Grand Theft Auto 6 is exclusive, I'm gonna be
Yeah.
really upset.
I'm hearing
I
that.
don't.
I'm hearing
that-
The thing I'm seeing
remember,
about 16
that's
is
why
not
they
that it's
started-
lifetime exclusive. It's that both of those would be timed exclusive.
I get that, but
Yeah.
GTA 6
It's
being
big. It's big.
megaton.
It's big.
That's
It's
big.
really
Really?
time. Who knows if Sony said, "How about we make it full?" and they said yes. You never know.
I can't take a year without.
the rumor is that Sony is out there offering a big bag that Microsoft didn't want to match in
Yeah.
terms of getting exclusive and third-party content.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah,
don't.
I'll tell you
That
right now.
GTA 6 though, that
That's
some people
that's
saying
crazy.
they
Bruh.
haven't been able to confirm it, but well, that smoke it can be
Bro,
fire.
if GTA 6 is exclusive for a year, I'm buying a PlayStation 5.
Remember, they did start the PlayStation 5 with that horrendous GT 5 demo.
Oh yeah, the
Or
GTA
something,
5.
not demo.
I get it. Like I don't mind waiting for. I
No,
don't
but
mind waiting
it
for
was
some
it
content.
was Jim Ryan was when he said Rockstar is one of our biggest partners or
Partners. Yeah,
something like that.
it's the big GTA 5 is the biggest game ever. Like
Yeah,
it's not going anywhere.
Huge. I feel like if 6 is on, man, listen, Final Fantasy I could live without. It's not. Final Fantasy 7 I'll be waiting for. I'll be waiting on for Series X and Mark. Grand Theft Auto is a problem.
Kyle, like, please.
That is a problem for me.
I even if I own a
I feel
PlayStation
you,
5,
bro.
I would not play Final Fantasy 16 and GTA 6 for a year until they're on Xbox. 'Cause I don't want to support deals like that. That shit's ridiculous,
okay,
man.
okay,
that shit's
okay,
ridiculous.
That's why you issue
You're
them.
a true trooper. You're a true
You're the one-
Xbox
Yeah,
trooper.
I
see
am.
you play.
I know, and
I
it's
see you
it's
play.
not
I
my
ain't
issue.
mad at
It's an
you.
issue. It's an issue of
I ain't
capitalism.
mad
But
at
that's a
you.
different story.
I
Thank
ain't
you.
mad at you, player.
Respect.
Do what you do, player.
It's the
Go
same way
Xbox
with
player.
Yakuza
And I'm going to do my best to make sure it doesn't,
and
it doesn't
the
get.
medium.
What's up?
Yeah, but those are smaller. You
those are
cannot
different.
compare
Those-
Grand Theft Auto.
You can't compare
Yakuza-
Blue Team
Wait,
to
don't
Rockstar.
talk
Like,
to-
Come on now, Karaba. Come on, don't do
Wait,
that,
that's
Karaba.
Wait, one person at a time. I'm lost.
what I'm telling you is you can't compare a horror game made by a team of like 20 people in Sweden or wherever they might
With
be.
like a $7 million budget.
Yeah,
I'm
compared to the
comparing
biggest
the
game
practice.
ever.
I'm comparing the practice. Both
No,
companies
it doesn't
are
ma-
doing
the
it.
The
No,
practice
that is
doesn't
not
matter
the same
because
process.
the media might not get made without that deal. Grand Theft Auto 6 is going to happen whether there are people to play it or not. That's how
Bruh,
that damn game.
Just think about this. Grand Theft Auto 5 is finna go into another generation
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
and get upgraded
Yeah, that's
on a
different.
whole
It's
nother
crazy.
system.
Crazy.
Man, that is a money machine,
Yes,
right?
that game's not going anywhere.
Bro, they spending all they ain't even spend no new money. They still
Yep.
touch no money.
All they do is add DeLoreans and hoverboards and shit to that game.
Yeah,
and people
man.
still spend $100 on it a month.
I can't believe that game came out in a 360 PS3 and it's still going.
GTA has turned into Minecraft somehow. I don't.
That's the best way to put it.
That's
And
Them are the
I
two
don't
biggest
even think
games in the industry right
intended
now.
to do that. I don't think they intended to do that. I think they just made GTA Online, and then GTA Online had a
It
law.
just blew up.
Like,
It did have a law when it first started.
it first started in 2013, and then Heist came out in 2014. Everyone was like, "This sucks." Now I was one of those people, and I stopped playing it. And then I look over my shoulder in 2016. There's people role playing it, and I'm like, I don't care about what you guys are doing. And then 2017 is like, people are spending like $7 million a day on shark cards, and I was like, what the
Yeah.
hell? Like, and now it led the PlayStation 5 event last month. Like, what's
insane,
going on
bro.
2 months
It's
ago?
insane.
Make a question. They could have started with anything, and they started with GTA 5. They not
Hey, that
even,
got it out of the way. That got it out. It was better to have it there than in the middle of the thing, right? Like, it's done.
Nah. You don't come in and say, look, what was the name of that show?
literally by the beginning of the PlayStation
The Future
5.
of Gaming.
Yeah.
Or the Future Gaming. And then you come in, here go GTA 5
The
replay.
game and
You
you
know
showed
what?
us the whole ass game,
The
right?
gaming
Yeah.
is a
You would only do
7-year-old
that
game.
if you got bigger plans.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah.
All right, let's shut it down. All right, guys.
Just one last
Listen,
thing I want
We
to
can
say.
keep going, Cal. You know,
I know.
No, but I just want to say one thing.
Go ahead.
There's a rumor of people having hands down on the PS5 P DualSense, and the battery is rumor is 16 hours,
50% more powerful. Than
and
50% more powerful than the DualShock 4, so it lasts for
that.
20 minutes instead of 10.
and it's going to be able to be charged fully in 20 minutes.
That's great.
Cool. That's
That's
cool.
great.
Cool.
Yeah,
No doubt.
super hyped about that.
Yeah, definitely. All right, so listen, man, that's gonna be it for tonight's show. We'll be back next week, Thursday at 10:30 p.m. Eastern time, or around 10:30 p.m. Eastern time. You can catch us both on YouTube and Twitch. I truly appreciate the support. Go ahead and hit the subscribe button if you're on either and have not subscribed. We always are grateful for people who go ahead and subscribe to the channel and check us out weekly as we talk about Xbox and everything that's going on in the video game industry. Cam, when's your next podcast?
I'm actually going to be on Crossfire with Mooch tomorrow. So,
Okay, that's what's up.
yeah, if you want to catch, everyone in our circle knows Mooch and Crossfire. So, tomorrow, 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Eastern, I'll be over there talking about, I'm sure, some of the same stuff we talked about tonight, but,
Right,
maybe a different lens. Maybe I feel differently a couple hours later. Who knows? So,
No doubt. Karaba, when's your next show?
VGP Monday.
Okay, and
Definitely going to talk about all of this.
yeah, for sure. Post up, when's your next show?
Okay, we have
I don't know. Things been kind of sporadic lately. Right now, I'm just getting content ready for my channel debut.
Okay, I'm
You dig?
what day you have set?
You know what? I ain't even got a day set yet. I got an intro and new avatar and stuff like that being done, but I don't want to wait till they get done and started. So I might just launch, do something this weekend, or just so say, hey guys, I'm here, because people been like, man, Post, you been saying you gonna do a war on your channel for long, you ain't gonna never do.
Right.
So I might just drop something this weekend, man, just to let everybody know I'm actually serious about it.
That's what's up. Excited about that. I might be bringing back Super Pod Shots, do a little tidbit podcast here and there, a little 10-minute podcast on certain opinions of the day if there are major news. Other than that, man, you can catch Tick Podcast every Thursday at 10:30 p.m. Eastern on YouTube, on Twitch, on these channels respectively. Truly appreciate the support as always. And that's it, man. Next week I'm going to talk. I got a new phone.
Congrats.
What kind of phone you get, Kyle?
I was trying to get the Samsung
20. That's
20,
20.
bro. That 20 was expensive as hell, bro.
Who you
Oh
telling?
yeah,
I had
there was a CNET writer who was like, "I'm not paying that. I'm not
Bro,
gonna."
I had an upgrade. I was just getting the 20 plus. That joint was $6.99 at checkout, and that was the discounted price because
Yo, these
I was
phones are
getting
getting
an upgrade.
ridiculous, bro.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah,
But I wound up
ridiculous.
getting I got the One Plus, which is kind of like a mid tier up
Yeah.
tier game phone, and it actually is a 5G phone, and it has the strongest Snapdragon processor
Oh,
on the market that
Nice.
that's not in like a upper tier like the Samsung 20, the 20 phone.
What's the name of it? Because I'm actually looking for a phone
It's
myself.
called the OnePlus 8. They have a OnePlus 8, and they have the OnePlus 8, and they have a OnePlus 8 like plus or whatever, like
OnePlus 8 Pro.
Yeah, you go. OnePlus 8 Pro and a OnePlus 8. Yeah, I got the OnePlus 8.
Oh, wow.
But the
This was,
OnePlus 8 is really
600.
good. Yeah, it's really good, and it's got like the 865 Snapdragon 5G, and it's amazing for xCloud.
Nice.
Yeah, so I'm hyped about that. So we'll definitely we'll talk about xCloud next week in phones. I know everybody was buying a whole bunch of Samsungs now that Microsoft has this deal with them and not with Apple at the moment. So we'll
yeah, I
definitely
can't play XCloud.
exactly. So that's gonna be fun. But anyway, let's get out of here, man. I'll see you guys next week. I'm your host, OX3KLL, with my team, Post Up, Karaba, and Cam Hambone, and we are off this planet. See you guys. Peace.
See you,
Later.
stay safe.
Yes, sir.